like to call our meeting to order. It is 6 p.m. and declare that we do have a board quorum present. If you will please stand for our invocation, which will be led by Mr. Joe Reinhardt, and our pledges of allegiance, which will be led by the Brandon Elementary students.
Join me in prayer, please. Heavenly Father, thank you for this opportunity for us to gather to make decisions that will be used to make our nation better as we improve the lives of our youth, as they become young men, young women, great students, great citizens. Lord, I want to take just a moment to say thank you to two groups of people. Number one, I witnessed today elementary teachers in the rain at dismissal, and I witnessed crossing guards in the rain at dismissal. We're so very blessed, Lord, to have all those professionals and our community people working with us as we move forward. Now we ask that you bless this gathering and the folks that are here and give them safe travel home as we go through our evening. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I'd like to ask our board to begin making its way to the front as we transition into our awards, achievements, and recognition time. I will now turn the presentation over to Mrs. Carla Christopher.
Good evening, Superintendent Massey, Board President Howard, board members, faculty, staff, and our invited guests. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. Our first presentation will be done by our Deputy Superintendent, Ms. Rita Tunga.
Turn indicator, please.
You stay down, you want up?
I'm at the left. I'm tonight.
What goes up must come down.
You got it? Okay, you get set. Stand by.
Got to. That's what makes us good. Makes us good.
But I'm standing up, so praise God.
Good evening. It is my honor to recognize our Spotlight educators this evening. The purpose of the BISD Educator Spotlight Award is to recognize outstanding teachers across our district. These are teachers who go above and beyond for not only students, but for their coworkers as well. They are knocking instruction out of the park, they are collaborative team members, and support all learners. These teachers lift up their coworkers and students, and their overall performance is spectacular. Would Ms. Raquel Ayala from Lanier Elementary please make her way to the front? Ms. Ayala is a special education teacher from Lanier Elementary. She is very passionate and strives to inspire her students to be their best. She is patient and understanding and believes a lasting positive and leaves a lasting positive impact on her students. She is highly adaptable, does what is best for students, and is always supportive of the needs of the whole campus. Congratulations to Ms. Raquel Ayala. Our secondary spotlight, Ms. Kim Lowry, if you will please make your way to the front. Lowry is a teacher at Clute Intermediate and teaches 5th grade science. She is a positive influence on our school. She's joyful, her classroom is warm and inviting, and she is focused on student learning. When you walk into her classroom, you can immediately tell that she is student-centered. Her students have shown a lot of growth this year in science. She keeps our culture and climate cadre going, and she has tremendous school spirit. If there is a dress-up day, you can count on her to participate. We appreciate the positive influence she has on Clute Intermediate. Congratulations to Ms. Kim Lowry.
Put your break on there.
I'll take a couple. 1, 2, 3, and another. 1, 2, 3. Somebody else welcome. And another one behind.
Favorites, we will have our student recognition, and Deputy Superintendent Jay Whitehead will present.
Thank you. Good evening. 3 Brazoswood High School students have been named commended students in the class of 2024 National Merit Scholarship Program. Tonight, we would like to recognize those 3 outstanding students. A letter of commendation from the National Merit Scholarship Corporation, which conducts the program, will be presented to these scholastically talented seniors who had a National Selection Index score in the top 5% of the nation out of 1.5 million students who entered the 2024 competition by taking the preliminary SAT National Merit Scholarship Qualifying Test. These students, being named commended students, have demonstrated outstanding potential for academic success. These incredible students are involved in a multitude of campus activities, along with being academic superstars. When I call your name, could you please come forward and join Mr. Massey at the front? Bradley Barrett. A little bit about Bradley. Bradley is an officer and state medalist for Science Olympiad, an AP scholar, and a member of the Goddard Rocketry team. He has also had many parts in plays and musicals for Brazoswood Theater and Brazosport Center for the Arts and Sciences. Bradley plans on majoring in mechanical engineering at Rice University or the University of Texas at Austin. Congratulations, Bradley. Joshua Braun. Joshua is highly active in Science Olympiad and Community Services Organization. Joshua plans to major in chemical engineering at the University of Texas in Austin. Congratulations, Joshua. Trevor Coleman. Trevor is an AP scholar who enjoys being a member of the soccer, cross-country, and track teams. He is also the captain of the Buccaneer Band Load Crew, as well as a member of the Jazz, Symphonic, and Chamber Bands. Trevor plans to major in education at Trinity University and become a high school history teacher. Congratulations, Trevor.
Contract today?
And the president. Here, 1,
time, in accordance with BISD local, the board will provide an audience with individuals who have signed up prior to the meeting to address the board. I have 5 before me, and I'm told we have 1 more who's signed up. You know? All right. Mr. Reinhardt is going to serve as our timekeeper. Actually, we're going to have it up on the screen. Mr. Reinhardt is going to keep track, make sure that everybody's on top. So for those who are requesting to speak tonight, comments are limited to a maximum of 5 minutes per speaker, with a maximum of 30 minutes total allotted for public comment. Delegations of more than 5 shall appoint a representative to present their views to the board. The board will not entertain negative comments on individual personnel or students during public session. Patrons are encouraged to use appropriate canvas and administrative channels before bringing their concerns to the attention of the board, and board members are not allowed to deliberate, discuss, or make decisions regarding on any subject not included on the agenda that is posted. So tonight, our first one who signed up is Mr. Alan Williams, the naming of the field house at Brazoswood campus. Mr. Williams, you have the floor. If you would come up to the podium, please, sir.
Thank you.
You look very nice tonight, by the way.
Well, I'm trying hard. Some days it's more difficult than others.
All right, very dapper.
My name's Alan Williams. I've been in Lake Jackson since 1963. I was the original graduating 4-year class for Brazoswood High School. I graduated in 1973. And so, very familiar with the school, played a lot of sports here, a lot of baseball, a lot of football. They asked me not to play basketball any longer, simply because I enjoyed my pals. Okay. But, anyway, I'm here to speak to you today. We had a reunion, 50-year reunion, about 3 weeks ago. And as we toured the school, we were told that there's no name on the field house. Okay? And so, the class of 73 apparently thought I was a good speaker, so they said, we would like for you to do this. And so here I am. Okay. On behalf of the class of 73, we have 1 nominee, okay, that we would like to do, but I have a second that I would like you to consider also, or some combination of both. Okay. Today I'm here to talk to you about Alan Waddell. Alan Waddell grew up in Lake Jackson. He has attended BISD schools and was always quite active in sports and all around here. As a senior at Brazoswood High School, he was an offensive guard, not very intelligent, okay, but his coach was L.Z. Bryant. And so when L.Z. Bryant came over here to Brazoswood High School, Alan was quite happy about that. They became good friends, okay, and Alan was playing football at the University of Texas. And so during the summers when he was playing, he would actually work out the Brazoswood football players, including myself. And it was a rather vigorous workout. It wasn't anything that you would really volunteer to go to, okay? But LZ would have us during the season, and then Waddell had us in the afternoons or evenings, and then in the summers. And so they got to be good friends. So I don't know how much you know about Alan Waddell's history, okay? But I'm going to bring you up to date a little bit. Some of the things about Alan Waddell, he went to the University of Texas on a football scholarship, played for Darrell Royal, was a member of their national championship team in 1970. He did quite well until he tore up both his knees, and then he went to coaching. And those who can't play coach, as I understand. He did like playing at the University of Texas, and he liked it so well that that's where he's going to spend the rest of his life. He was a mechanical engineering graduate from the University of Texas, came home when he graduated and told his dad he wanted to be a coach. His dad was not popular with that decision. Okay? And so as a result of that, it caused a rift in the family. Well, the only way they talked was through me. Okay, so I know them both quite well. Alan is a very, very, very smart, talented young man. Okay, and so as a coach, he was very capable of talking to the players, and that's what he enjoyed doing the most. He enjoyed mentoring, building teams, building players, okay, and he was very good at it. Throughout his years, he started out at Angleton as assistant coach, didn't stay there very long, was hired by Victoria High School, where he turned their program completely around from 0-10 one year to 10-0 the next year. Okay, and was doing quite well there. And then came along superintendent from...
1 minute.
Yes, sir. From Lamarck, and so he spent 7 years at Lamarck. He went to the state championship game 5 years in a row. He won 3 state championships there. Now, that was good, and it's good, according to him, as long as you have good players, okay? About the time he didn't have the players he normally would have, R.C. Slocum came along and asked him to be linebacker coach at Texas A&M, where he did quite well there, okay? But he had always wanted to coach here. The reason he could not coach here, his father's on the school board, and so he could not. But after his father passed away, then he came back here and was an assistant coach here for quite some time, and finished out his career. Alan's a good guy. He has tremendous number of awards from, I can read a few of them to you. I've got them done.
That's it.
Okay.
Your
All right.
second person?
Pardon?
Your second person?
Yes, Larry Bryan.
No, sir, you said you had 2 people you wanted to...
I wanted to speak also today about options, okay? And there's all kinds of options because we have all kinds of buildings.
I'm sorry, I thought you had a second person that you
He's
wanted
sitting
to...
next to you.
Oh, Mr. Massey?
Can you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, I can tell you to read his bio that's on the internet, okay? Joe and I have been friends for my entire life, okay? Joe began at McKinney's Texaco, and we'll always remember him as a guy that ran the night stuff at McKinney's Texaco, okay? And Joe and I have played ball together for years and years and years. He is a long-time Lake Jackson resident.
Alan, you're on over your time, but I think that's police officers back there to bring you to say a lot of...
Joe, it's not my first encounter with police officers.
Thank you.
I appreciate
May
it.
I ask, are you in Marble Falls?
I'm sorry?
Are you in Marble Falls?
No, but I can be.
No, okay,
That's another one.
I digress.
Okay. But Joe's a good man, and I respect him a lot. Okay.
He's
That's
He's all right.
another option.
Thank you. Our second speaker is Mr. Larry Bryan.
Feels great to be home. Alan was talking about the 50th reunion we had, and it's just remarkable. I've been away for 50 years. I live in Houston, and I come down to see family. I too want to second what Alan suggested in recognition of Alan's career, his stature in the coaching community statewide, his work here within the district. I would like for the district to consider naming the field house at Brazoswood High in honor of Alan. And I'd also like to see a similar honor accorded to Mr. Reinhardt, just in recognition of Joe's long-term tenure and dedication to the district. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir. Not to speak, to respond to them, but we do have a process for naming of buildings, which can be found on our website, or someone here we can get with you afterwards to tell you the actual process to make that happen. the next speaker that we have on tonight's agenda is Ms. Melanie Oldham to speak to us about the subject of tax abatement. All right.
Good evening, Superintendent Massey and school board members, especially Ms. Cuellar, who represents Freeport students where I live. I am a physical therapist for 40 years, but I recently became semi-retired. I'm now the director of a new nonprofit group in our area called Better Brazoria Clean Air, Water, and Government. And we're working on several issues, but last year we were able to get assistance to hire 2 economists to do a study called the Brazoria County Tax Abatement Study. And I'll, down the road, if you want, I'll share a copy. It's 75 pages long, but we have a summary of it also. But anyway, it's pretty eye-opening. It talks about various tax abatements, 312s, 313s. I think the legislator renamed them to 314s or so. But anyway, it basically goes through the 14 top industries in our area. And it tells, they always come to you all and say, well, we're going to provide this many jobs and good local jobs, which is somewhat true. But the study shows that basically, roughly, I believe it's $2 million that is given in tax abatements Brazoria County-wide per one job at some of these industries, where at the very top, Freeport LNG, the Brazoria County, all the tax entities, including BISD, gave them $6 million per one job. It's pretty eye-opening. Brazoria County, I've gone to commissioner meetings for a long time, and I've never seen them turn down a request for a tax abatement. In fact, it's an unwritten rule. If they give one, then BISD, the college, board, everybody will give a tax abatement. And as you all know, 313s were set up decades ago to attract industry that might not be here. They might go somewhere else if they weren't here. Dow and different plants, I don't think they're going to up and move. They want to expand different plants. And just real quickly, to go back to Freeport LNG, I live 3 miles from the island. And again, as y'all know, last year was a gigantic explosion fire, June the 8th, and they finally got the investigation report out, root causes. On that day, they were 96 employees short. They were working their operators 12, 14-hour days. But the kicker is the Brazoria County tax abatement contract, which I have, stated there was only 3 criteria they had to meet, and one was they had to have 220 employees at all times running the pre-treatment and the liquefaction plant. But they got caught, 96. The Brazoria County DA said they could call them on it, but I don't know if they're going to this time around. But the thing is, these companies have to qualify. Even though for decades Brazoria County has never turned down any tax abatement that I've seen, we look at, part of our group, we look at public education and making things better for all of our students in Brazoria County. But y'all been studying up in Austin, they're trying to push these vouchers and they're trying to take away money basically from public education. So I know when you all, vote to give away a tax abatement, I always hear the argument, well, it's okay because the state will make it up, they'll pull it out of the general fund, so if you give, say, Dow a $2 million tax abatement, the state will make up most of that. But when you think about it, that money that could have been left in the general fund for public education, other good programs, is pulled out. Sure, the tax abatements, some people call them corporate welfare, some call them tax evasion.
1 minute, ma'am.
But our taxes are going up. So with the Dow polyethylene plant, which will become before you soon, demanding a tax abatement, please carefully consider that you don't have to approve every single tax abatement comes along unless they meet the strict criteria. I think you all are wise people and you will think this through, and in a few minutes we'll have somebody else from our group speak that has a lot of experience as a former superintendent of schools. And anyway, please, I'll be glad, if it's okay, I'll pass out these flyers, and any of you that want that report, Brazoria County tax abatement report, I will get that to you, or the summary, that you all could read through it. But, anyway, we all want to improve and get the money to our students in public schools. And when you give, this study points out BIC has given away almost more than any other district in Texas. And it's pretty eye-opening if you just read through it. And there's pros and cons, but, anyway, when the Dow polyethylene, we'll be at the next meeting to speak to that. And, anyway, thank you all for listening to us.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
All right. The next speaker, same topic, Ms. Sue Page.
Hello, everyone. It's kind of cool to be here with the student recognitions. As Melanie said, that I've been in education for 39 years, and I retired to Brazoria County, so I'm happy to be here now. My topic is related to the tax abatements upon which you will vote next month. As Melanie shared, I'm sure you're well aware of the proposed SB1 that has passed the Senate, and which can conceivably diminish the LEA funding allotment from the FSP. So now more than ever, tax dollars are needed. As she noted, that the state does make up the difference between what is collected and what is required to educate. But what if the state could use the money that is now lost to tax abatements to alleviate concerns such as weapons in schools, because adequate care such as positive activities and well-rested and not overly worked staff, or positive adults and programs were available in the school, would be provided for students. I was told by a prominent politician that the money that the companies earn and manage is in the billions, and therefore I would not understand their power. I recognize power. I believe in the power of the human spirit to be kind and generous and caring. Taking more money because they can through tax abatements is in conflict with what I know about people who are concerned with our children's future. I implore the school board to stand for our children, to stand for our future generations, and make sure those companies stand with you. A no vote for these tax abatements will allow you to stand proud and tall. A no vote for tax abatements will allow you to provide those resources to teachers for the benefits of students. A no vote for the tax abatements will allow you to address challenges and work through them for a better outcome. A no vote for tax abatements will allow BISD to graduate each student to be future ready, because there will be a future due to a well-funded education. I believe in each one of you. You will make tough decisions regarding the harm of tax abatements. I believe you will stand for our students, who at this point cannot stand for themselves. I'm grateful for your service and trust that you will stand by the dreams you envisioned for the students and the staff when you decided to serve in the capacity as a board member.
Thank you, Ms. Page. I
Yeah.
said, thank you, Ms. Page.
Oh, okay. You're welcome. Thank
Yes,
you.
ma'am. Our next speaker is Ms. Katrina Hayes.
Good evening. I am a parent, a taxpayer, and I have years of experience working in schools in both the general education and special education departments. It was great to see the opening statements, hear the opening prayer, and watch the award ceremony that pointed out the achievements of students as well as some of their teachers. As an employee in public school districts, I know that there's not always enough money to give teachers what they need. There is instruction that could be helped if there was more money in the budget. They could differentiate instruction better and have better teaching tools at times as well. At the last school board meeting, there was discussion about the budget and how difficult it was to afford to give teachers raises. Imagine how much we could do for teachers and students if these companies paid even a fraction of the money that they're given in tax breaks. 95% of Texas students are in districts that are losing funding because of the Chapter 313 giveaways. While these companies are getting huge tax breaks, taxes on residents, especially property taxes, are increasing exponentially. If anyone deserves a tax break, it's everyday residents, not multi-billion-dollar corporations. I ask you to please take all of the points that I've made into consideration and consider not approving the tax abatement. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Was there another one that didn't sign up in time that would like to speak?
Anyone? Anyone?
I do.
All right. Come to our podium and state your name for us, please.
I'm Jenny Lear with the Better Missouri Group. There's just a few things I want to say. I need my glasses. It is not worth the risk of the public health to unnecessarily incentivize these facilities when they are creating cancer clusters and polluting our air and water, especially when they are paying almost nothing in taxes. Cities like Freeport are already overburdened by the polluting facilities that have been created, significant negative health outcomes for nearby communities. For instance, excuse me, I can't see, my glasses aren't working. For instance, significant, I'm sorry, if these companies are going to continue moving here to, oh my God, create these negative health impacts, the least we can do is make them pay their taxes. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, ma'am. All right. That is the end of our public audience for individuals. The next item that we have on our agenda is our consent agenda. Are there any items requested to be pulled from the consent agenda at this time? All right. Hearing none, then do you hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as it's presented? All right. It's been moved by Mr. Dunn and seconded by Mr. Reinhardt, thirded by the group on the left. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, our consent agenda passes. The next item that we have on our agenda is the public hearing. Ms. Rebecca Kelly will conduct a public hearing to discuss the school financial integrity rating system of Texas. State law provides a public meeting be held to discuss this topic. Public participation is invited at the conclusion of the presentation. Ms. Kelly.
Good evening. In accordance with board policy CFA legal, it is my pleasure to facilitate a public hearing for our 2023 annual financial management report, or more commonly known as our FIRST rating, which stands for Financial Integrity Rating System of Texas. Included in your agenda documents is a full copy of the report. Under School First, districts report certain financial data to the Texas Education Agency, including the district's annual financial report. TEA assigns a financial accountability rating to each district. Then within 2 months, each district must announce and hold a public meeting to distribute the report that explains the district's performance to taxpayers and parents. The School First was developed by the Texas Education Agency in response
to legislation that was passed in 1999. In 2006, performance under School First was added as a consideration for accreditation along with academic performance. School First provides additional transparency to public education finance and meaningful financial oversight and improvement for school districts. Pursuant to the Texas Education Code requirement, the Commissioner of Education has adopted rules to implement and administer the School First. 2 years ago, the state added 5 additional indicators, so today there is a total of 20 indicators that are being scored. However, due to the ongoing impacts that the pandemic had on enrollment and our average daily attendance, there are 4 indicators that were not rated as part of the 2023 report. Districts may receive one of 4 financial accountability ratings: A for superior achievement, B for above standard achievement, C for standard achievement, or an F for substandard achievement. TEA will base a district's rating on the district's overall performance on the financial measurements, ratios, and other specified indicators. The ratings are based on data from the immediate prior fiscal year. This data includes the district's annual financial report, PEAMS data, warrant holds, and then the district's average daily attendance information used for school funding purposes. Out of a possible of 100 points, BISD received a perfect 100 rating. The first 5 are designated critical indicators and must be passed in order to avoid an F rating. There are no changes to these indicators, and they are as follows: timely filing of the annual financial report and the data feed to PEAMS, an unmodified opinion and no material weaknesses in the annual financial report, compliance with all payment terms related to our debt service agreements, timely payments to other governmental entities, and then an unrestricted net asset balance that is greater than 0. Indicator 5 was not scored this year. BISD did pass all 5 critical indicators. Indicators 6 through 14 are solvency indicators. Indicator 6 is measuring for any rapid decline in fund balance over a 3-year period. This is also a ceiling indicator, and if not passed, the highest rating we could receive would have been a B. Indicators 7 through 14 are scored either 0 or 10, and some are scored on a sliding scale of 0 to 10. Indicator 10 is measuring budgeted revenues compared to actual revenues. There was some discussion back in the 86th legislative session on how conservatively school districts were estimating revenues when setting their budgets, and so they're actually measuring that through this indicator. Indicator 14 is for a rapid decline in student-to-staff ratios, and then due to the pandemic and rapid changes in enrollment associated with that and ADA, TEA is not measuring indicator 10 or 14 this year. BISD received 80 out of 80 possible points for these 9 indicators. And then indicators 15 through 20 are financial competence indicators. Indicator 15 is measuring average daily attendance projections. The Legislative Budget Board uses these projections made by the districts when developing the state's budget, so tying it to our first indicator holds us more accountability for the accuracy of not only our budget, but also the state's projections. Indicator 16 was changed to a ceiling indicator last year, and if not met, would yield a maximum rating of B. We had a 0% variance in reporting our PEAMS data this year. Indicator 17 is also a ceiling indicator to ensure districts maintain a strong set of internal controls over financial reporting. This is tested during our annual financial audit. If not met, the maximum rating would be a C. And then indicator 18 is also evaluated as part of our annual financial audit, and is set to ensure all federal and state grants are properly accounted for and in compliance with program guidelines. Indicator 19 is reporting that all required notices and postings were made on the district's website. And then the final indicator, number 20, was placed as a requirement on the administration to discuss property values and the use of such in the funding formulas during the board meeting prior to adopting the annual operating budget. BISD passed all financial competence indicators, earning the maximum points. so Brazosport ISD has once again earned the highest achievable rating with a perfect score. I'd like to thank our Board of Trustees for providing strong governance in the area of budget and financial management oversight. I'd also like to thank Mr. Massey for his leadership and Ms. Kaylee Crisp, our Director of Finance, for supporting the daily operations of our finance team. The information provided by the School First system will guide us in our continued efforts to utilize each taxpayer dollar to maximize quality learning opportunities for every student. So this is a public hearing, so there's no board action needed, but I'd be happy to answer any questions from the board or the audience.
Any questions from the board?
Just congratulations. Appreciate you.
Excellent, well,
Yep.
Thank you all.
thank you.
Just as a point of reference for me, what is the ceiling that you keep referring to?
So if you fail that indicator, then they set a ceiling in terms of the maximum rating, and it varies based on indicator. So you, for example, if you fail one of the ceiling indicators, the maximum rate would be like a 95.
Okay.
So they vary based on each individual indicator. Some could be a ceiling of a B.
Right, okay. Okay. Any questions from the audience? All right.
Good, I think that's year 22,
I think it's 22, I think.
23
Yeah,
in
it
a
started
row.
in 2001, so 22,
Although
21, 22?
Yeah,
Yeah, we were trying to figure that out the other day.
yeah, I think.
Since the inception.
Please pass along, our gratitude and thanks to your whole team. It doesn't, takes more than one to make this wheel go around.
It certainly does.
All right, since there's no further questions, we'll close the public hearing. Thank you, Ms. Kelly.
Thank you.
Next item that we have are action items. Our first action item is the interlocal agreement for track and Grady Rasco Middle School.
Yes.
Ms. Kelly.
The following is in accordance with Board Policy CH Legal and Chapter 791 of the Texas Government Code, which authorizes governmental entities to contract with one another. It is my pleasure to present the interlocal agreement with the Brazoria County to resurface the track at Rasco Middle School. The walking track at Rasco Middle School has deteriorated and is in need of new asphalt surface. Administration has partnered with Brazoria County to develop an interlocal agreement. The agreement provides the district will furnish all materials for the project, and the county will supply the necessary equipment, such as the operators and the labor, not to exceed the $10,000 value. The estimated materials will be under $30,000. We do have the funds budgeted as part of the 2019 bond program. We recently partnered with the county over the summer to complete the parking lot and the track at Stephen F. Austin Elementary School. And then, as always, Brazosport ISD is very appreciative of the county and Commissioner Dude Payne for helping us meet the needs of our campuses. The proposed interlocal agreement will be presented for approval at the Commissioners Court tomorrow, November 14th. And then work will begin as soon as possible, weather permitting. And so it is the recommendation of the administration that the Board of Trustees approve the proposed interlocal agreement and that the board president be authorized to execute the final form of the agreement pending county approval on November 14th.
I'll second.
Any
right.
questions?
Well, are there any questions first?
Are they gonna use something, durable, like black cinders or red dog or something like that?
I'm gonna say yes, sir.
I hope not.
I don't really know what material they're
No,
gonna use.
there's-
Asphalt?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, don't say cinder or red dog, don't ever say it.
Okay,
No,
That's a trick question.
yes, it was.
All right. Any other questions from the board? All right. Before we take a vote on any, we also will entertain any comments or questions from the public as well. Any questions from the public before we move forward with the vote? All right. Hearing none, then it's been moved by Mr. Reinhardt and seconded by Mr. Schwartner. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries. Thank you, Ms. Kelly. Next item that we have on our action items is the resolution to vote for a candidate for the Board of Directors of the Brazoria County Appraisal District. Ms. Kelly.
So this one's in accordance with Board Policy CCH Legal. The Board of Trustees is entitled to vote for the Appraisal District's Board of Directors. Board members serve 2-year terms. On September 18th, BISD Board of Trustees nominated Gail Robinson. Ms. Robinson is the current Brazoria County Appraisal District Board member with 5 terms of tenure. Her prior service on the board and her experience as a realtor in our community has made her an obvious choice for our nomination. Administration has received certification from the Chief Appraiser of Brazoria County Appraisal District that Brazosport ISD is entitled to 1,145 votes for the 5 directors to be elected. It is the recommendation that the Board of Trustees cast the district's 1,145 votes for Gail Robinson. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions from the board? From the audience?
I move that we cast the district's 1,145 votes for Gail Robinson.
All right, it's been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries as well. Thank you, ladies. Thank you. Next item that we have on our agenda is the class size exceptions for Lanier Elementary School. Ms. Rita Cundiff.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy EEB Local and in alignment with the district goal of BISD campuses will be safe and conducive to learning, I am requesting that the Board of Trustees approve class size exemption waivers for Lanier Elementary School. Some background. The district seeks to maintain a 22-to-1 student-to-teacher ratio in grades K through 4. Prior to the approval of the Local Innovation Plan in May of 2017, the district was required to submit maximum class size exception waivers to TEA at different times throughout the school year. With fluctuating classrooms, enrollment counts common to our elementary schools, classes would be approved for a state waiver and then go back to or under the 22-to-1 ratio. The Local Innovation Plan provision for class size exceptions provides districts with the flexibility to monitor class sizes for a longer period of time before determining to seek an exception from the Board of Trustees. The district is now exempt from the state law requiring the district to seek a waiver when classes exceed the 22-to-1 ratio for 30 days. Under the district's innovation, class size would exceed 22-to-1 for more than 35 days. If they exceed for more than 35 days, the Board of Trustees must approve the exception. Some options. Options to address classrooms that exceed 22-to-1 maximum class size for more than 35 days include hiring another teacher and add an additional 4th grade section, adding a certified teacher to the class to create a co-teach environment, add a paraprofessional in accordance with the district staffing ratios. This option also requires the Board of Trustees to grant a class size exception. There are advantages and disadvantages. One advantage of adding a paraprofessional is that the teacher remains with the students that she began the school year with all year. The disadvantages, of course, are the cost of the paraprofessional position and what to do with that paraprofessional if it drops back below the 22-to-1 or lower. Campuses needing the exception. By being excepted from the 22-to-1 ratio requirement, students are allowed to remain with the teacher and classmates with whom they began the school year, which fosters the continuity and stability needed to support increased student learning. Lanier Elementary School has 2 4th grade classrooms that have exceeded the 22-to-1 ratio for 35 days. As noted on the slide, a resident apprentice is currently assigned to 1 class, and an additional paraprofessional or apprentice will be added if the exception is granted by the Board of Trustees. It is in the opinion of the principal that continuing with the current instructional arrangement will render the least disruption to student learning, and that the likelihood of the ratio eventually dropping below 23-to-1 is high. It is the administration's recommendation that the Board of Trustees approve a class size exception for the Lanier Elementary School 4th grade classrooms that are currently above the 22-to-1 class size ratio. At this time, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Any questions?
Okay, I have one. You know, we get these, and I think that the paraprofessional's fine, but it would be nice to see when those fall back down below occasionally. We don't need to see it on every report, but maybe put it in our update or something like that. But it'd be nice to see if it's lasting 6 months, is it lasting 1 month, is it lasting 20 days? Because I know there's some student mobility in some of these schools too, so it would be nice to know maybe how long some of these are lasting. I would imagine most of them don't last through a semester, but.
Yeah, there were 3 that were
Yeah.
above, and as of a week ago, it dropped down.
Yeah.
So,
And I know that's pretty common.
they do fluctuate, but we
Yeah.
can try to get some of that information and put it in the board update for you.
Just for information purposes. No?
Sure.
Back in the day, if we started school before Labor Day at Freeport, a lot of kids weren't there, then all of a sudden the shrimp fleet moved back to Freeport from Florida and other parts of the coast, and then the class sizes grew, so it's a blessing to have this opportunity, this option, so we don't get caught either way. Too many are not enough.
And just for clarification, we're over about 1 student in these classrooms, so 23 instead of 22.
Yes, yes,
On
sir.
both.
I thought you said 32, I was looking at it backwards.
No, sorry.
Just one student.
Yeah, we might have to hire
One
teachers.
one student in each class, yes.
I was kidding, you were having too much of an easy time, I wanted to give you a little heartbreak.
Keep me on my toes.
My mom was an elementary school teacher, and I remember early on, she would have classes, first graders of 32. So 23.
We are very fortunate in this state. We have lots of states that have 30, 35 students. Yes,
Bigger
sir.
classes.
Mhm.
We called that PE back then.
Any other comments from the board, from the audience?
I know classes, from personal experience, that class sizes of 33, 34, and 35 for older kids is tough. And I know it's higher for those guys, but for these young folks, they give the elementary teachers all the help they can give them.
I move for approval.
Second.
One second.
All right, it's been moved by Ms. Shorter, seconded by Ms. Patty Sayes. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed by nay. All right, that carries.
Thank you.
Ms. Conant. All right, next item that we have on our action items is the items pulled from consent, so we do not have any of those. We'll move on. Under our reports, our first report is our curriculum-based assessment, or CBA review, Mr. Brian Cole. And as always, public comment will be allowed on each report. Mr. Cole.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy EH Local and District Goal, Broward Support ISD will provide a rigorous and relevant learning experience to ensure that each student will be future ready. It is my pleasure to present a report on our fall curriculum-based assessments. At the district level, curriculum-based assessments indicate relative performance of campuses and classrooms. They provide us with the needed information to study and replicate best practices and mobilize resources to support areas for growth in classrooms across the district. CBAs assess only a portion of the scope and sequence. These assessments are subject to change every year as we amend the scope and sequence along with questions on the assessment annually. The data from CBAs is best used to determine the needs of this year's classrooms on this year's scope and sequence. CBAs are designed to maintain the level of rigor of the state standards and applicable STAR exams. Questions are selected to align to the rigor of the state standards and STAR test. Thus, the passing standard used by the state as a minimum threshold is also used for our CBAs, which was adjusted for this year. As we design the CBAs, questions are selected from multiple banks, then aligned or adjusted to the calendar so that only items that should have been taught are tested. Teachers are provided time to vet each CBA, then blueprints and guidelines for testings are provided. Additionally, this year we seek feedback from each teacher that's providing a CBA to find out what went well and what could be improved, and we use this data to improve our CBAs as we move forward. Results have already been analyzed by teacher, campus, and district teams, along with a focus on what the results mean, why they are important, and what we should do about it now. At the district level, we work to respond to curriculum-based assessments by identifying high and low-performing classrooms. We work throughout the year to visit classrooms to dig deeper into what the data says as we work to identify best practices and replicate those practices in classrooms across the district to ensure that all of our students are learning at high levels. Now let me walk you through the data tables that you're about to see. At the elementary level, the campuses are arranged horizontally. Then you'll see 5 rows below each of the campuses. The first rows tell us the percent of students that passed the CBA last year. And then the third row tells us the percent that passed the CBA this year. Then as we move along in green, you'll see that the second row shows you how a campus did in comparison to the district average. And the fourth will show you how a campus did in comparison to the district average this year. So last year versus this year. This allows us to identify certain campuses that are excelling in a particular curricular areas for further exploration, or campuses that may need additional support. The final row shows us, or allows us to see, how a campus has gained or lost ground between this year and last year when compared to the district average. This gives us an idea of which campuses have seen significant growths or declines between this year and last year. At the secondary level, you'll see the same information, only this time the campuses are arranged vertically rather than horizontally. So we'll start by looking at third grade math. As we explore third grade math, we see that Ogg, Roberts, and Lanier Elementary made significant improvement over last year, while Austin and Griffith Elementary both remain well below the district averages. You may notice that Brannon's change on the bottom row, they were at 92% last year and did not have much room to increase as the district average moved up. This does not necessarily indicate an area of concern as of right now. As we look at fourth grade math, we see that Ogg and Polk Elementary made significant improvement over last year. Griffith and Lanier still remain under the district average in fourth grade. Campus administrators, content and instructional support are already present at the campuses, working to assist classrooms that may have shown a decline. In fifth grade, we see that Stephen F. Austin made significant gains, while Clute Intermediate School remains below the district average and is a focus for assistance in planning and instruction. In sixth grade math, Lanier saw a significant gain, while most campuses are hovering right around the district average for the current school year. In seventh grade math, an increase at Freeport Intermediate School was seen, while Lake Jackson Intermediate dropped from last year. Content support continues to work with our seventh grade teams across the district. In eighth grade, all of our campuses remain fairly close to the district's average. For Algebra 1, Brazos-Port High School continues to lead our two traditional high schools, while Brazos-Wood High School made significant gains. Please remember that our intermediate high schools reflect students who take algebra in 8th grade, and they are all at 100% pass rate for the current school year. As we take a closer look at the key strengths of math, problem solving is a key element in math classrooms across the district. Students are being exposed to rigorous math problems to prepare them for the CBA, mock, STAR, as well as future. Very few of the key strengths and areas of improvement seem to remain the same from last year's data. We're seeing changes. Learning gaps are evident, but we are working to ensure that supporting standards are being scaffolded during warm-ups and instruction to fill those learning gaps as we move throughout the school year. Students across the district are struggling with multi-step problems, which continues to be supported by our district-wide problem-solving model, which is called WIPS. Now let's take a look at science. In 5th grade science, Clute Intermediate School has shown gains over last year, while Rasco is comparatively, we're seeing lower performance, but it does remain above the district average. As we explore 8th grade science, Clute Intermediate has continued to improve and is currently above the district average. All campuses do remain relatively close to the district average in 8th grade science. In biology, at the high school level, We see significant improvement at Brazos-Port High School and a decline at Brazos-Wood High School. Our team is actively supporting Brazos-Wood's team of teachers in collaboration with the school administration. In science, teachers are creating hands-on lessons that provide our students with opportunities for rigorous problem solving. They're using strategies that help students think critically, and during professional learning communities, teachers are persistently exploring the curriculum frameworks for planning. The key areas for improvement for science in 5th grade are ensuring the students are learning and building their process skills throughout every lesson. And in 8th grade, we're continuing to provide support for our new teachers that have joined the team. As we explore reading language arts back at the elementary level, in 3rd grade, most campuses do remain fairly close to the district average. However, Austin, Boydell, and Griffith are currently below the district average. In 4th grade, Brandon and Polk remain above the district average, while Lanier made gains over last year. They are still well below the district average compared to other campuses. In 5th grade reading, Lanier showed a marked decline, while Stephen F. Austin improved over last year. In 6th grade reading, Rasco was the strongest performing campus, while Lanier has shown declines below the district average. Campus administrators and content support are actively supporting the struggling classrooms in our 3rd through 6th grade level. In 7th grade reading language arts, we saw Freeport Intermediate shrink the gap with the district average. In 8th grade, the opposite trend was observed at Freeport Intermediate School, while LJI, or Lake Jackson Intermediate, showed the strongest level of performance. In English 1, Brazos-Port High School leads the district this year. While in English 2, Brazos-Wood High School showed the strongest performance. Our RLA team is working with both campuses to maximize instruction and student learning. The strengths that we see across the district in reading language arts fall into the oral and foundational language and comprehension strands of the reading language arts standards. These standards, represented by the strengths that are repeated in multiple grade levels, are the basis for more difficult tasks of analyzing and synthesizing. And elementary students are improving on understanding genre characteristics, which is an important foundational skill for author's purpose and craft, as well as the analysis of text. In 5th through 12th grade levels, students are additionally able to identify the characteristics of most genres and the simplest versions of responding to text. The difficulty changes as the students apply the skills to more and more complex text in each grade level. As we look at areas of improvement, in elementary, students are being supported with those foundational skills in order to read fluently at grade level. Consistent phonics instruction and guided reading help to support the growth of these foundational reading skills. We know that comprehension will gradually increase with a student's ability to read fluently and with continued practice. Across all secondary, students struggled with connecting the individual author's moods, such as organization, literary elements, and language, with meaning, like tone, theme, mood, and voice, and effectively writing, which includes revision and editing regarding those texts. This is the highest level of analysis and continues to grow in complexity as learners grow. It continues to be a focus of our Tier 1 instructional priorities through many lessons, multimodal reader's response, and explicit and systematic writing instruction. As we transition to social studies, our 8th grade campuses, we see growth at Clute Intermediate School this year. For United States history, Brazos-Wood High School is currently the top performer. Our content teams and campus administrators are working to ensure that we do see best practices at our struggling classrooms. We see strong evidence of our Tier 1 instructional priorities in social studies classrooms. We include mapping Mondays and timeline Tuesdays as part of our history fluency routine that provides a weekly spiral review for our students. The concepts that you see on this slide were challenges for our students and they continue to be spiraled throughout the year to ensure mastery as we move forward in social studies. The ultimate purpose of collecting this data is so that we can take action to ensure that all students in all classrooms are learning at high levels as we replicate best practices and come alongside to support in areas of need. That work is well underway. At this time, I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have. This information is report only.
Any questions from the board?
I have a few comments, I guess. There's not a lot, if you're comparing, obviously it's apples to oranges because it's not the same students, but I think it is interesting nonetheless that we have some pretty wild swings up. There's some that are 20 and 30 points compared last year from a passing rate. There's not as many, a few of them are equal, but the drops are usually minimal, maybe 2 to 5 points. But what's the reason for the wild swings up on a few of those?
So on a few of those wild swings are represented by our historical practice is that we use the cut scores for the STAR test for our cut scores for the CBAs.
Mm-hmm.
The STAR test adjusted those cut scores this year to be significantly lower, so we moved our CBA's cut scores to be the same. So that's why you would see more people reaching the threshold. Now,
Is that what you anticipate the legislature to do this time, or is that what you...
That's a great
question.
question.
Out of bounds. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because, you see like 20, 30%, that's unusual.
Right. Which is why we like to compare, are we above or below the average year over year versus where did that score move, right?
Yep. No, that makes sense.
I'm assuming the fact that we're talking about the 3 to 5 year groups, we're still trying to play catch up a little bit from the pandemic, but especially those in the 3rd grade, they would have missed out on the kindergarten, 1st grade.
Yes, sir. The most persistent learning gaps are in math. Reading is a little bit easier to catch up on because those skills continue to spiral, but in math, there's foundational skills that you have to learn, and they're harder to fill those gaps in. So the more persistent losses are in math versus reading language arts.
Which is interesting too, but, it doesn't seem like the 3 through 5 are as bad as we saw maybe last year.
Correct.
Which is good, but maybe that 6th, 7th math is probably still a little struggle. But
Yes, sir.
and that's when things start getting really fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. Not awful.
Any other questions, comments? Audience? From the audience? All right.
Just good information.
Thank you. Hearing none, thank you, Mr. Cole.
Thank you very much.
The next item we have under reports is our bond planning and construction update. Mr. Alec Ray.
It's our favorite.
Good evening. In accordance with Board Policy CB Local, it's my pleasure to present the planning and construction update for the 2019 bond program. As of November 7th, we've had total POs issued of $246,557,214 for 84.6% completed or in progress. This slide is over at Brazos Wood High School TPE, showing the new logo that was installed on the left-hand side of the building for Marquee Industrial Construction for their $500,000 investment in Brazosport ISD CTE. And this is an updated slide showing that the Marquee logo that will also be on the Brazosport High School TPE on the far right-hand side.
It doesn't look like that yet.
No.
Not quite, but it
Coming
will
along,
soon.
yeah.
It's getting close.
There's scaffolding out there.
We've already got wiring in place for those signs. This is the phasing plan that you've seen for the entire CTE project. And this is a drone view that was taken on Friday. And you can see the front addition on the left, and then the large shop building on the right-hand side And this is the front addition. It's moving along very well. We're very close to getting windows in and being dried in. That's looking directly at the front entry. And this is the shop building in the back. And this is a ground view of the front addition. This is the, as you go in the front entry, in the main corridor, you've got vet tech and floral on the right and cosmetology on the left. And this is inside vet tech and floral. And this is also, this is in floral, this is their storage area, and then to the right is the large walk-in cooler. And this is the main corridor looking back towards the front entry. And this is in cosmetology. Also in cosmetology. And this is a ground view of the shop building. And on the left-hand side of the picture, you can see all the dirt work that's taking place. They're preparing to get all the concrete in place that'll be on the outside of the shop building. And it also integrates the driveway that goes through for the fire lane. And there's a view from the slab.
Did it snow that day?
It's very deceiving, isn't it? It's just new concrete.
Right.
I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
Any questions from the board?
So that's the marquee, thing that was turned on tomorrow. Yeah, at the Friday. That they're doing the.
We're pretty much on schedule out.
Yes, sir.
That's cool. I can't wait. It's like popping up.
It's exciting to see.
It's
come
exciting
along.
just to see the walls going up and everything.
Yeah. The shop building will start moving along very quickly now.
Foundations in. Any comments from the audience?
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
What factors did you use, when you were putting those companies' names on the building?
Money?
Donated.
Donations
money to the CTE program.
specifically designated for the CTE programs.
Was there a certain threshold that they had to meet?
$500,000. So as part of the construction of both the Brazos Wood and Brazos Court CTE buildings, we launched a CTE major giving campaign. And so we outlined certain levels in terms of outside company signage as well as interior signage on a donor wall. And so $500,000 was the exterior threshold. And to date, we have secured 4 of those.
And this is through our foundation.
No, it runs through the district.
Through the district, the CTE, okay.
Yes, ma'am.
And to take it back a step further, prior to us ever starting the CTE buildings, well, a lot of the construction is, there was a committee that traveled and went to many high schools, CTE specifically, CTE high schools, or had an emphasis on CTE. And we visited some schools that had a nameplate on every chair, depending on what somebody gave. And so, we appreciate their donation, we appreciate what it's accomplishing.
And we didn't use any of those dollars to actually construct the facility. That was constructed with the bond dollars. So those dollars are being invested into our workforce development strategies to produce students who are workforce ready that can go directly to work with our industry partners. So they're hiring our students straight out of high school.
And if you don't know, and I'm very proud of, we have a CTE signing day, just like we have athletic signing days. And so it's a big deal.
Like 140 some odd students last year.
Yeah. And they're actually signing for jobs where they're gonna earn money right out of high school. Just similar to, if you get a football scholarship or something like that, it's a signing day. It's just very exciting. And those companies are there and, are hiring our students.
What are we up to? We're over $6 million now.
Right under $6 million that we
Donated to
secured today.
CTE through the CTE.
Correct.
So we get really excited about CTE.
And this will be your second year with signing day?
No, like fifth.
Your fifth, okay. And so those students have made...
Pre-COVID, I think, we started.
Next item that we have on our, anybody else have a comment before we move on? All right, next item that we have are board committee reports. Do we have any board members who would like to say a
I'd
word?
like to say two things. Number one, I'll reiterate what I said earlier in the application. You never know what our staff members go through, especially at the elementary schools, when you have a day like we had this afternoon. Everything is smooth, running under control. Little guys getting on buses and vans, going where they need to go, and teachers they're not pulling their hair out like high school teachers would be if it need be. Also, I will say this, we had an event last week. I was fortunate enough to be with the teachers the next day. They were very appreciative for everything that happened on their part. And they all had the smiles that they could have on their faces. It was a blessing.
I had the pleasure of attending Polk this week and being interviewed by their Panda Press. Some tough, hard-hitting questions.
Interview tomorrow, I'm excited.
That's why I was, it's elementary today. It's the same thing.
Be careful.
Panda Press,
Yeah.
their journalism.
I would see if they got my quotes right.
Elementary students looking for the truth.
That's right, looking for truth.
They asked me how long I taught, and I said 34 years. Then they asked me how old I was, and this little girl said, "Oh, I thought 34 was old."
I did tell them the year I started on the board, and all of them said, "Ooh, that was the same year I got born." That was interesting.
They're honest.
They're honest.
All right. I did want to comment that the two interesting days that we had over the last couple of weeks at Brazowood and Brazosport, just appreciate the responses to what happened. I would liken it unto the football game because I played sports, but you can practice all week long, but until you're on the field on Friday night, it's just not the same. So I'm sad that we had to go through what we went through, but I'm thankful for the responses, and it also gave us an opportunity to see what we did right and a few things that need improvement. So again, just appreciate everyone involved, from our teachers and staff members to the men and women who showed up to respond from our law enforcement agencies.
They did.
Excellent job.
Yeah, very, very appreciative and thankful that they both turned out as well as they did. So, any other comments before we move on? All right, not hearing anymore, then our next regular scheduled board meeting will be December the 11th at 6 p.m. right here. Next item that we have on our agenda tonight is executive session. It may be called for the purposes permitted by the Texas Open Meeting Act, Texas Government Code Sections 551.071 through 551.146, Section 551.071, consultation with attorney, Section 551.071 on any agenda item, Section 551.72 for the purpose of discussing the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property, Section 551.074 for personnel matters, appointments, employment, evaluation, reassignment, duties, discipline, dismissal, or complaint, Section 551.082 for the purpose of considering discipline of a public school child or complaint or charge against personnel. We'll be back. For those of y'all who will not be here, happy Thanksgiving.
I'll put the password in.
All right, unless there are any objections, then we're reconvening. It is 8:21. Unless there's any objections, we stand adjourned.